बीए पार्ट फर्स्ट के विद्यार्थियों के लिए। प्रिय विद्यार्थियों, इस वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे ए क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस और ए क्रिटिकल एप्रिसिएशन ऑफ द स्टोरी द ओपन विंडो। डियर स्टूडेंट्स, इससे पहले के दो वीडियो में हमने बात की थी इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ द स्टोरी एंड समरी ऑफ द स्टोरी द ओपन window. In today's video, we will talk about an analysis of the story The Open Window. The story has a triplet structure. The first part beginning with the conversation between Vera and Frampton, the second with the entrance of the aunt, and the third with the return of the hunting party. Saki employs flashback to divide these three parts, interrupting the present with a story within a story inspired by Vira's imagined past. Like many of Saki's stories, The Open Window features a surprise ending when the reader discovers that Vera, whose name signifies veracity, is ironically anything but truthful. Just as Vera tricks Frampton, so Saki tricks readers by leading them to believe that Vera is a credible storyteller. He does this in part by making Vera a young girl. In Saki's time, it was rare for a woman to be portrayed as cunning or conniving. Rather, women and girls were frequently cast as the more trustworthy characters, whereas men and boys were the rascals. By casting the troublemaker as female in his story, Saki counters stereotypes about the proper way for young women to behave. Though this story does cast a girl as troublemaker, Vera's brand of troublemaking is distinct from that of Saki's male characters in other stories. She relies on her imagination to execute pranks, whereas Saki's boy characters usually rely on destruction or aggression. Saki's characterization of Vera also provides some clues to the careful reader about Vera's true nature. Chief among them is his characterization of Vera as a storyteller who specially is romance at the notice. Critics have often understood Vera to be a representation of Sakis himself and a personification of narrative authority. Vera is also an important character in The Open Window because she introduces childhood, a theme common in many of Saki's stories. Saki frequently portrays childhood as an unfortunate state of children being trapped in a boring adult world. This perspective stems in part from H.S. Munro's own upbringing. Like many of Saki's children, Vera is under the watch of her aunt, an imposing figure from whom she desires escape through imaginative storytelling and trickery. The window is a representation of this desire to escape. It is a symbolic window to a different world through which Veera can travel into an alternate reality entirely of her own making. In this way, Veera's tales are a means of escapism from life in boring adult world. Saki's stories frequently satirizes and subvert the order of the Edwardian upper middle class world of which H.H. Munro was a part. In the open window, he does this by troubling and transforming for rural and calm setting of the formal visit house visit. Veera's story imbues the otherwise mannered and Borger's scene with a grim tale of death and delusion. The tale becomes darker still when the aunt enters because Saki continues to describe the setting as a cheerful one, even amidst the aunt's clear and tragic misunderstanding. Using words like bastard, bustled, world, cheerfully, Saki subverts the traditional setting of the Edwardian setting from sitting room with the grotesque. The transformation is necessary to liven up the boring and mundane life in Edwardian society. So, this was a critical or analysis of the story, The Open Window. Now, the themes of the open window. First theme, wildness, coarse versus older. Saki disturbs the otherwise placid house visit with such strange occurrences as a supposed ghost sitting and a tragic death. The open window is the vessel through which this chaos enters the orderly sitting room scene. The particular type of chaos Saki utilizes in this story is closely related to his fascination with the wild. It involves wild dogs, dangerous terrain, and a forest. Saki commonly uses chaos to mock the customs of English society. Second thing, empowerment. Closely related to Saki's preferences of chaos over order is his frequent positioning of children as foils for frail adult characters. Veera, the child in the story, repeatedly bests the adult characters with the power of her imagination. She finds a particularly good target in Frampton, whose nerves make him a natural audience for her trickery. Desire to escape. Both Frampton and Veera possesses a strong desire to escape. Veera seeks escape from the adult world she inhabits through her imagination and storytelling. Frampton is brought to the rural town out of a desire to escape and recover from his nervous disorder. While Veera's escape proves fruitful and entertaining, Frampton's not so successfully. It provokes more chaos than calm. Power of storytelling. Saki commonly uses the story within a story technique in his works. He takes this a step further in the open window by using Veera as a storyteller to convey a theme about storytelling as an art form. Saki and Veera both rely on the short story to fool their audiences. As one who relied mainly on the short story to capture this idea, Saki includes storytelling in his work to communicate its unique compatibility with the comic tale. Next one, rural calm. This theme is closely related to the chaos versus order themes. Several characters allude to the supposed peacefulness of the rural setting. Frampton's doctor suggests it as a retreat to calm his nerves and Frampton himself. To find that tragedy would ever occur in the rural landscape. Ironically, the setting becomes another source of anxiety for Frampton with the additions of Vera's storytelling. Satirization of Edwardian society. Saki is well known for his satirical illustration of Edwardian English society. The open window is yet another example of these satirical writings. Mockingly, Saki exposes the absurdity of the house visit during conversation between Frampton and Mrs. Stapleton. Both find the encounter purely horrible. Comedy. Comedy plays a significant role in the open window. Vera's stories, through perhaps initially credible, are revealed at the end of the fantastical and comedial fantasies of a child's making. Thus, comedy is positioned as a refreshing contrast to the duty and adult setting and lifestyle. So, dear student, this was a critical appreciation and many themes in the story The Open Window. Hope you enjoyed this video.